Good morning, honorable educators. I'm from the opposition team. First speaker will now present my speech about this motion. Okay, so this motion said that the government will require a political candidate to take political competency test in order to run for the office. In here, we as the opposition team disagree with this motion. The problem in this motion is that the government framed the status quo as broken because unqualified politicians can still win election, and they propose a political competency test as solution. However, we see this as that this is wrong on many points. The problem in the status quo nowadays is that it's not the lack of academical knowledge, but it's more like corruption, people losing their trust on the government, bad political parties, or even lack of education about politics, of course. Just because someone is smart or knows a lot about law or economics doesn't mean that they will be a good leader. In fact, there is a lot of educated leaders that make a bad decision. On the other hand, we can see that some great leaders don't come from an elite or high educational background. Let's take Che Guevara as example. He doesn't came from high educational background, but he could lead a revolution and became the symbol of countercultural resistance in Cuba. This goes to show that a good leader doesn't always need to have a good or elite educational. In the opponent's speech, they failed to explain as the government why this change needs to happen right now. The proposition team said that there is a political nihilism and bad leadership, but they failed to give us strong examples to show that the situation is urgent. The proposition team, secondly, failed to explain why academical knowledge is more about important than experience, values, or connection to the people. Lastly, the proposition team said that this motion is created to build trust, but they don't explain why will people trust a system that basically blocks democracy. Because if a candidate that already loved by the people, in this case, let's take Deddy Mulyadi as example. If he were to decide to run for office and he failed only because of test, when he already loved by a lot of people, that would only make the people lose their trust even more and not gain their trust. The government also said that we need this motion to make sure politicians are smart and won't make a bad decision. But we disagree with this claim and think that this is a bad solution. Just because they pass the test doesn't mean that they will be a good leader. Again, there's a lot of great leaders that doesn't have a good educational background. As my recent examples, Che Guevara, the figure of countercultural resistance in Cuba. On the other hand, a lot of politicians with high educational skill still make a bad decision. So, passing the test is not the best way to measure leadership. Even if the idea is good, it can still be bad in practice. Why? Because it creates a new barrier that can unfairly block people, even capable people, even if they understand their own people. Even if the idea works in some cases, it will also not be significant because passing tests doesn't mean someone will be a good leader. Leadership is not about how smart they are or how high their educational skill are. Yes, it is important, but a leader need to have sympathy, empathy, values, and experiences. This is what makes good or even great leaders. Now I will explain to you why it is not justifiable about this motion. In a democracy world, the right to run for office should be open to all people, regardless of their background, not just to those who pass a test. Leadership is not only about academic knowledge, but it's also about representing the people, having good experience, and being chosen by the people itself. Making a test a requirement means that we are limiting that rights, and that's a very serious thing. So the harms to democracy and fairness are too big, and that's why this motion is unjustifiable. Now, for our argument is that we cannot justify forcing all political candidates to take political tests. Why? Because democracy is about giving everyone the same chance to represent the people, not to those who do well in tests. For example, Vladimir Zelensky used to be a comedian and an actor before becoming the Ukraine president. He didn't have background for political or even knowledge about it, but he can overcome those things and become a good leader, even great leader. This shows leadership is not only about knowledge; it's about empathy, character, and values that they bring, and that's why we oppose this motion.